Welcome to Tap the Gold Spiritual Counseling and Transformational Coaching Services. I'm your host, Dr. Jacinta Mpali. Today, I will begin a new kind of arrangement where I'll be reading all these amazing books filled with wisdom and counseling or coaching you as well, especially on topics that seem to be a little bit complicated. And the first book I'll be reading today is Believe in Yourself. Chapter 1 is Make Your Dreams Come True. This is a book by Dr. Joseph Murphy. Now, if you haven't subscribed, please do, and click on the notification bell so that you can get notified every time I record a video. Now, let's get started. If you don't know Dr. Joseph Murphy, he's the author of the best-selling book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, which I recommend you should read. Let's get started. Chapter 1, Make Your Dreams Come True. Joseph in the Bible means disciplined or controlled imagination. It is one of the primal faculties of mind and has the power to project and clothe your ideas, giving them visibility on the screen of space. Israel loved Joseph. Israel is a spirituality awakened man who knows the power of controlled imagination. It is called the son of his old age. Son means expression. Old age implies wisdom and knowledge of the laws of the mind. When you become familiar with the power of imagination, you will call it the son of your old age. Age is not the flight of years. It is really the dawn of wisdom and divine knowledge in you. Imagination is the mighty instrument used by great scientists, artists, physicists, inventors, architects, and mystics. When the world said it's impossible, it can't be done, the man with imagination said, it is done. Through your imagination, you can penetrate the depth of your reality and reveal the secrets of nature. A great industrialist told me one time how he started in a small store. He said that he used to dream, Joseph was a dreamer, of a large corporation with branches all over the country. He added that regularly and systematically he pictured in his mind the giant building, offices, factories and stores, knowing that through the alchemy of the mind he could weave the fabric out of which his dreams could be clothed. He proposed and began to attract to himself, by the universal law of attraction, the ideas, personnel, friends, money, and everything needed for the unfoldment of his idea. He truly exercised and cultivated his imagination and lived with these mental patterns in his mind until imagination clothed them in form. I particularly liked one comment that he made as follows: it is just as easy as to imagine yourself successful as it is to imagine failure, and far more interesting. Counseling. So what are you dwelling on constantly? What are you imagining? Whether you have problems, obstacles, challenges, when you think about them, you are imagining them into your world, because the way you perceive them the first time is not the exact way you think about them. Thinking about things of the past being as near as a few seconds ago, is imagining them back into life, into the now, considering that your attention is the only element that has life in your past. So you have to ask yourself all the time, you're thinking, what am I imagining? Am I imagining the past, bringing it forth into the future, or I'm imagining the present, or I'm imagining what I really want, although I already have it? Now, continuing with the book, Joseph is a dreamer and a dreamer of dreams. This means he has visions, images, and ideals in his mind, and knows that there is a creative power that responds to his mental pictures. The mental images we hold are developed in feelings. It's wisely said that all our senses are modifications of the one sense feeling. Thomas Troward, a teacher of mental science, said, "Feeling is the law, and the law is the feeling. Feeling is the fountainhead of power. We must charge our mental pictures with feeling in order to get results." Meaning that, now we get into counseling again. If you have a desire and you visualize it and you imagine yourself as being one with that desire, let's imagine you have an item on your bucket list to go to Italy. So every day you visualize yourself as being in Italy, walking down the streets, ordering pizza and learning Italian. Now, the feeling that you could generate when you're experiencing that is probably excitement, joy, happiness, peace. Whatever feelings you have concluded to be the ones that you want to activate or achieve or generate from that experience are the feelings you've got to attach to that imagination. So as you close your eyes to imagine this desire that you so like, although you already have it, you have to attach feelings to it. So back to the example of going in Italy, imagine yourself on one of the streets in Italy. Maybe it's in Bologna. You're walking down the street and you're smiling, you're trying to speak broken Italian, and people are laughing back at you and teaching you a few words. And then smile. You smile and generate a sense of joy and happiness and excitement. If you cannot generate those emotions related to your imagination, generate them anyway, focus based on another experience. You can be excited without reason. So generate the excitement, because excitement is unconditional. It dwells in you. Whatever emotion you want to generate is unconditional. You can pop it up and generate it and feel it. You just have to pay attention to it and intend it, and it will be manifested in your mind and in your heart and in your body. Now, continuing with the book, we are told Joseph dreamed a dream and told it to his brethren, and they hated him. Perhaps as you read this, you have a dream, an ideal, a plan or purpose that you would like to accomplish. To hate is to reject in Bible language. The thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and opinions in your mind are the brethren that challenge you, belittle your dreams, and say to you, "You can't, it's impossible." Perhaps other thoughts come into your mind that scoff at your plan or ambition. You discover that there is a quarrel in your mind with your own brethren. Opposition sets in. The way to handle the opposition in your mind is to detach your attention from sense evidence and the appearance of things, and begin to think clearly and with interest about your goal or objective. When your mind is engaged on your goal or objective, you are using the creative law of mind, and it will come to pass. Now, adding to that, when you have a desire and then fear and worry start kicking in, and the mind, the ego, starts telling you how you will never achieve it, ignore those thoughts completely and ignore the emotions as well. and continue focusing on your heart's desire. Continuing. Lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright, and behold, your sheaves stood around about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. Which means, lift your ideal or desire up in consciousness, exalt it, commit yourself wholeheartedly to it, praise it, give your attention, love, and devotion to your desire, to your ideal. And as you continue to do so, all the fearful thoughts will make obeisance to your exalted state of mind. That is, they will lose their power and disappear from your mind. Through your faculty to imagine the end result, you have control over your any circumstance or condition. If you wish to bring about the realization of any wish, desire, or idea, form a mental picture of fulfillment in your mind. Constantly imagine the reality of your desire. In this way, you will actually compel it into being. What you imagine as true already exists in the next dimension of mind. And if you remain faithful to your ideal, it will one day objectify itself. The master architect within you will project on the screen of visibility what you impress on your mind. Imagination wears a coat of many colors. A coat in the Bible is a psychological covering. Your psychological garments are the mental attitudes, moods, and feelings that you entertain. The coat of many colors represents the many facets of the diamond, or your capacity to clothe any idea in form. You can imagine your friend who is poor living in a lamp of luxury. You can see his face light up with joy, and you can see his expression change and a broad smile across his lips. You can hear him tell you what you want to hear. You can see him exactly as you wish to see him. That is, he's radiant, happy, prosperous, and successful. Your imagination is the coat of many colors. It can clothe and objectify any idea or desire. You can imagine abundance where lack is, peace where discord is, and health where sickness is. His brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Imagination is the first faculty and takes precedence over all the other powers of elements of consciousness. You have 12 faculties of brethren, but your imagination, when disciplined, enables you to collapse time and space and rise above all limitations. When you keep your imagination busy with noble, godlike concepts and ideas, you will find that it's most effective of all faculties in your ongoing spiritual quest. The phrase in the Bible, Joseph is sold into Egypt, means that your concept of desire must be subjectified, which is also Egypt, first before it becomes objectified. Every concept must go down into Egypt, meaning it must go into the subjective where the birth of ideas takes place. Out of Egypt have I called my son. Joseph is the commander of Egypt, which tells you that imagination controls the whole conceptive realm. Whatever prison you may be in, whether it's the prison of fear, sickness, lack, or limitation, or any kind, remember that Joseph is the commander in prison and can deliver you. You can imagine your freedom and continue to do so until it's subjectified. Then after gestation in the darkness, the manifestation comes. Your prayer is answered. Consider for a moment a distinguished, talented architect. He can build a beautiful modern 20th century city in his mind, complete it with super highways, swimming pools and aquariums, parks and so on. He can construct in his mind the most beautiful palace the eye has ever seen. He can see the building in its entirety completely erected before he ever gives his plan to the builders. Where was the building? It was in his imagination. With your imagination, you can actually hear the invisible voice of your mother, even though she lives 10,000 miles from you. You can also see her clearly and vividly, as if she were present. This is the wonderful power you possess. You can develop and cultivate this power and become successful and prosperous. Haven't you heard the sales manager say, "I have to let John go because his attitude is wrong"? The business world knows the importance of right attitude. I remember many years ago having printed a small article on reincarnation. The pamphlets were on display on a book counter of a church where I lectured. In the beginning, very few of them were sold because the sales girl was violently opposed to its contents. I explained the biblical meaning of reincarnation to her, the origin of the story, and what it was all about. She understood the contents of the drama and became enthusiastic about the booklets. They were all sold before my lecture series was completed. This was an instance of the importance of the right mental attitude. Your mental attitude means your mental reaction to people, circumstances, conditions, and objects in space. What is your relationship with your co-workers? Are you friendly with people, animals, and with the universe in general? Do you think that the universe is hostile and that the world owes you a living? In short, what is your attitude? The emotional reaction of the above-mentioned girl was one of the deep-seated prejudices. That was the wrong attitude in selling books. She was biased against the book and the writer. You can develop the right mental attitude when you realize that nothing external can upset you or hurt you without your mental consent. You are the only thinker in your world. Consequently, nothing can move you to anger, grief, or sorrow without your mental consent. The suggestions that come to you from the outside world have no power whatsoever, except that you permit them to move you in the thought negatively. Realize that you are the master of your thought world. Emotions follow thought. Hence, you are supreme in your own orbit. Do you permit others to influence you? Do you allow the headlines in the newspapers, the gossip, or the criticism of others to upset you or bring about mental depression? If you do, you must admit that you are the cause of your own mood. You created your emotional reaction. Your attitude is wrong. Do you imagine evil of others? If you do, notice the emotion generated in your deeper self. It is negative and destructive to your health and prosperity. Circumstances can affect you only as you permit them. You can voluntarily and definitely change your attitude towards life and all things. You can become master of your fate and captain of your soul, which is your subconscious mind. Through disciplined, directed, and controlled imagination, you can dominate and master your emotions and mental attitude in general. If you imagine, for example, that another person is mean, dishonest, and jealous, notice the emotion you evoke within yourself. Now, reverse that situation. Begin to imagine the same person as honest, sincere, loving, and kind. And notice the reaction it calls forth in you. Are you not, therefore, master of your attitudes? In reality, the truth of the whole matter is that it's your real concept of God that determines your whole attitude towards life in general. Your dominant idea about God is your idea of life, for God is life. If you have the dominant idea or attitude that God is the spiritual power within you, responsive to your thoughts, and that therefore, since your habitual thinking is constructive and harmonious, the power is guiding and prospering you in all ways, this dominant attitude will color everything. You will be looking at the world through the positive, affirmative attitude of mind. Your outlook will be positive and you will have a joyous expectancy of the best. Many people have a gloomy, despondent outlook on life. They are sour, cynical, and cantankerous. And this is due to the dominant mental attitude that directs their reactions towards everything. A young boy of 16 years going to high school said to me, "I'm getting very poor grades. My memory is failing. I do not know what is the matter." The only thing wrong was his attitude. He adopted a new mental attitude by realizing how important his studies were in gaining entrance to college in order to become a lawyer. He began to pray scientifically, which is one of the quickest ways to change his mentality. In scientific prayer, we deal with a principle that responds to thought. This young man realized that there was a spiritual power within him and that it was the only cause and power. Furthermore, he began to claim that his memory was perfect and that infinite intelligence constantly revealed to him everything he needed to know at all times, everywhere. He began to radiate love and goodwill to the teachers and fellow students. This young man is now enjoying a greater freedom than he has known for several years. He constantly imagines the teachers and his mother congratulating him on all his A's. He's imagining the desired results that has caused this change of attitude towards his studies. We have said previously that all mental attitudes are conditioned by imagination. If you imagine that it's going to be a black day today, that business is going to be very poor, and that it's raining, that no customers will come into your store, that they have no money, and so on, you will experience the results of your negative imagery. One time, a man was walking the streets of London, and he imagined that he saw a snake on the street. Fear caused him to become semi-paralyzed. What he saw looked like a snake, but he had the same mental and emotional reaction as if it were a snake. Imagine whatsoever things are lovely, normal, and of good report, and your entire emotional attitude towards life will change. What do you imagine about life? Is it going to be a happy life for you, or is it one long series of frustrations? Choose ye whom you will serve. You mold, fashion, and shape your older world of experience according to the mental images you habitually dwell on. Imagine conditions and circumstances in life that dignify, elevate, please, and satisfy. If you imagine that life is cold and cruel, hard, bitter, and that struggle and pain are inevitable, you're making life miserable for yourself. Imagine yourself on the golf course. You're free, relaxed, and full of enthusiasm and energy. Your joy is in overcoming all the difficulties presented by the golf course. The thrill is in summoning all the obstacles. Now let us take this scene. Imagine yourself going into a funeral parlor. Notice the different emotional responses brought forward as you picture yourself in each of the above mentioned situations. In the funeral chapel, you can rejoice in the person's new birthday. You can imagine the loved one surrounded by his or her friends in the midst of indescribable beauty and love. You can imagine God's river of peace flooding the minds and hearts of all present. You can actually ascend the heavens of your own mind wherever you are. This is the power of your imagination. As he dreamed by another dream and told it his brethren and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. In ancient symbology, the sun and the moon represent the conscious and subconscious minds. The 11 stars represent the 11 powers in addition to imagination. Here again, the inspired writers are telling you that disciplined imagination takes precedence over all other faculties of the mind and controls the direction of the conscious and subconscious minds. Imagination is first and foremost. It can be scientifically directed. Now this is the end of our reading today. We shall continue on chapter 1, and I really hope you did benefit from this reading. In summary, it's about your imagination and your emotional and mental attitude. What are you always dwelling on? What are your predominant thoughts about yourself, about life, and about other people? Are they positive? What are the predominant emotions in your mind? Is it in your heart? Is it fear, worry, or stress? Whatever you're thinking about, you're actually imagining into your physical reality. If it's in the past, it means that you're recreating it again to be experienced in the near future. If you're worried about the future, it means that you're actually engaged in visualizing, creating a future that will definitely generate your fear emotion. So it's important that you decide what you want. Decide how you will feel when you get it. And then dwell on that, regardless of what your senses feel like, regardless of appearances, and regardless of the deliverances of your ego mind. Until next time, I'm sending you abundant love from my heart to yours. Peace and blessings.